Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi-Night Light, where I talk about random topics that somehow relate to sci-fi and horror. So first off, I just want to apologize for being really late with the videos, but unfortunately some pretty rough stuff has hit me in my personal life, so that's kind of what's made me fall behind on schedule. So even though it's going to be released much later than expected, the Alien miniseries will continue and finish. Also, I just want to direct a little bit of attention on my good friend Joseph Ari's channel, who's been releasing a ton of fun Alien content, which you should definitely check out. So, with that out of the way, we're gonna get a little controversial with this entry. While the first two Alien movies are widely seen as classics, fans are usually very split over the third entry, Alien 3. The film was notoriously plagued by production problems. The script was rewritten, the setting was changed, director David Fincher disowned the movie, basically the production was a mess. But does that make the movie bad? Well, in my opinion, Alien 3 is the most underrated and overlooked film in the Alien series. Now, first to make things clear, I will be talking about the assembly cut, not the theatrical cut, as it's much better edited than what was released in theaters. Also, there will be tons of spoilers ahead.
I am not listening to Jeffrey, but he's still talking. I am not listening to you.
For those who don't know, or whose memories are a little rusty, in Alien 3, Ripley, Hicks, Newt, and Bishop are traveling away from a disaster that ended Aliens. However, unbeknownst to them, there is actually an alien facehugger that has snuck aboard, causing the ship to crash on the prison planet of Fury 161. A desolate, destroyed planet whose prison houses dangerous rapists and murderers, many of which have turned to some kind of apocalyptic, futuristic Christianity cult.
Give us strength, O Lord, to endure. We recognize that we are poor sinners in the hands of an angry God.
The inmates recover Ripley, who is the only survivor, but eventually the alien is birthed, escapes once again, and Ripley needs to unite people against the vicious xenomorph. So, who are these people? Well, some damn fine actors, such as Tywin Lannister himself, Charles Dance, Charles S. Dutton, who you might recognize from Mimic, Paul McGann, aka Doctor Who, Pete Postlewaite, who you might remember as the dinosaur hunter Roland Tembo from The Lost World, and a slew of other very good, very bald actors. Oh, and by the way, everyone in the film is bald because the planet is infested with lice, which actually gives the film a ton of character. Anyway, Dance is fantastic as the Doctor with a troubled past.
Sit down.
I think it might be better if I left. I find you unpleasant to be around.
But my favorite character is by far Charles S. Dutton's Dylan, who serves as kind of a badass priest who keeps other inmates in check of their own violent urges.
You okay?
So by far the biggest complaint people have regarding the plot is the fact that Hicks and Newt die. But let's face it, the Alien series is hardly the kind of film series with a happily ever after feel to it.
That the future is not going to be a pleasant place to live. That it's not going to be a Victorian cottage by a stream.
The most optimistic entry in the series is Aliens, but even that film is pretty dark and tragic. In the director's cut of Aliens, we find out that Ripley had a daughter who died of old age while Ripley was in cryostasis, floating around in space after her encounter with the xenomorph in Alien. This is why Ripley's motherly relationship with Newt was so important, because she served as kind of a surrogate daughter. The loss of Ripley's real daughter and now Newt, both directly and indirectly at the hands of the aliens, makes Ripley's relationship and hatred towards the xenomorph much more powerful and relevant. And on top of that, it's made Ripley's connection to the alien much more personal. It's literally taken everything away from her. Even Clemens, who is her one shining light of hope in this dark, violent, and again, very bald world, is killed in front of her, proving that she can't really have peace while this ferocious monster exists, creating a connection between the two that is deeper than just protagonist and antagonist. I also really like how once again it's just one alien against pretty normal people. The action is toned down while the suspense and horror is amped up big time. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Aliens, and technically it's a better film, but definitely more action than horror. Having a battle of wits, especially with a cool yet somewhat convoluted trap set at the end, brings the series back to its roots in what was supposed to be the final entry of the series. The setting itself is also the most different in terms of color and theme than we've seen before. While the previous films have been more blue, white, and gray, Alien 3 switches up the color palette with tons of red, orange, and brown. Another thing that adds character is the religious symbolism, which is honestly pretty beautifully shot and well integrated. We have a cremation of Hicks and Newt, while a sermon commemorates their death. All the while, a new life is brought into the world in the form of a new alien.
For within each seed, there is a promise of a flower. And within each death, no matter how small, there's always a new life.
Dylan's role as religious leader is great here as well, as shown in this exchange.
Do you have any faith, sister?
Much.
Well, we've got a lot of faith here. Enough even for you.
I thought women weren't allowed.
Well, we've never had any before. But we tolerate anybody. Even the intolerable.
These men with horrible pasts have lived in a shady state of peace from their urges, which is easy when there's no temptation. All of a sudden, their faith and control is tested now that Ripley is here.
Say that I, for one, do not appreciate company policy allowing her to freely intermingle with inmates and the rest of the staff.
What brother means to say is we view the presence of any outsider, especially a woman, as a violation of the harmony, potential break in the spiritual unity.
Her arrival is also something very religiously symbolic, something that Dylan actually states.
What are you waiting for?
But we're waiting for God to return and raise his servants to redemption.
Ripley brings with her a test of faith just by her being there, as well as them all having to band together for a greater cause, and a massive test of strength with them having to fight this monster without any real weapons. In the end, Ripley proves to be a savior as she sacrifices herself to save humanity after that it's revealed that she is actually the one that has an alien inside her, which brings her connection to the xenomorph to an end, as they both die together in a tragic tale that honestly wrapped up the series perfectly. So in Alien 3, they end up kind of sharing a coexistence. These two forces of strength eternally battling, their fates intertwined and destined to end together. Until the piece of crap that is Alien Resurrection completely fucked this beautiful end over, but let's just ignore that. Is Alien 3 perfect? Of course not. It has tons of problems. The effects aren't super great, but I truly feel there's so much to love about this film that a lot of people just look right past. I understand if you don't like some of the choices made, but you can't fault it for being boring. They took risks and did things different, while simultaneously trying to bring back a lot of the elements that made the 1979 original so great. The way that it ends Ripley's story, with her losing everything but at the same time saving everyone else through her sacrifice, taking the vicious xenomorph with her, honestly, it's beautiful. And it really cements her status as one of the best sci-fi characters ever. Personally, I really like Alien 3 despite all the problems in production and the editing of the original cut. I mean, yeah, there is other stuff to dislike as well, but honestly, I just feel like the positives do outweigh the negatives here. I mean, let's face it, the first two films aren't perfect either. Aliens actually has quite a few cheesy moments and characters that can seem pretty over the top. Still though, I love that movie, and I love Alien 3. And with that, I hope that some of the points I made here today can make you think a little bit differently about a vastly underrated film that gets way too much hate.
Do you want it on your feet? Or on your fucking knees? Begging. I ain't much for begging. Nobody ever gave me nothing. So I say, fuck that thing. Let's fight it.
So that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi-Night Light. We hope you enjoyed it. And what are your thoughts on Alien 3? Am I completely off? Is it just a piece of crap that deserves the status it has? Or do you maybe also think that it has a lot of good points that people tend to look past? Let me know in the comments. I'm your host, Sebastian Wendell Martinez, and I'm signing out.
this woman back to the Inferno!